I want to say that I had a really wonderful time today, being shadowed by Aaron, and he asked a lot of great questions in all the meetings, the multiple meetings we had today. And he also came up with, I thought, an interesting idea. So I wanted to turn it over to Aaron to present his idea to council. Here you go.
Okay. My proposition is in honor of Pride Month. For LGBT plus themed crosswalks. There was recently one in Marlborough Township and also Maplewood. And so I thought, Princeton, I think this would come across as a, welcoming symbol of diversity. Like I mentioned, Marlborough Township and Maplewood have done this, as well as Denver, Colorado, Burlington, Vermont, Atlanta, Georgia, Seattle, Washington, and others. To be cost prohibitive, it's not necessary for this to be on a road with heavy traffic or for it to be permanent, but I think it would be a nice symbol that would mean a lot to many in the town. Some were concerned with visibility issues, but and it actually being counterintuitive to public safety. However, this is proven to be untrue. Dean Dafis, a committee member from Maplewood, said it has increased public safety because it is more visible, and that county and federal officials and traffic and pedestrian safety agree. So some designs look like this. Sorry if the image is small, or this. And I thought some streets to propose this crosswalk to be on would be the crosswalk on Van Deventer parallel to Nassau, the crosswalks on Holfish and Nassau Square East, the crosswalk on Chambers parallel to Nassau, and the crosswalk on, was it Washington?
Washington Road?
Washington and Nassau. So, thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you. So normally when we have a good idea like this, we pass it along to a relevant committee to take a look at. So I might recommend maybe Civil Rights wants to evaluate it, and then also send it to Traffic Safety. President Crummeller, we had a chance to talk to Council President Crummeller earlier this afternoon, and she's the representative on traffic safety and was interested in taking it there. If you wouldn't mind leaving your printouts with me, I can make sure they get to the right place. But thank you so much, and good job. Before we move on to announcements today, as many of you know, we lost one of Princeton's finest people recently, Ray Wadsworth. He started an organization called the Spirit of Princeton, but in so many ways he was the spirit of Princeton and embodied that. This Wednesday is Flag Day, and it's just one of the many days where he's going to be really sorely missed. So I would ask all of you to join me in a moment of silence for Ray. Thank you. Now we'll move on to announcements, and I'll start on my right with Mr. Cohen. Any announcements?
I do not.
Ms. Howard, Mr. Limman, Mr. Quinn,
This evening.
Ms. Roberts?
And I do, to
Excellent.
make up for everyone else. I want to announce that the CP pool will be open full-time, 7 days per week, beginning Wednesday, June 13th. Also, for 2018, the rec department will be introducing an afternoon swim lesson component for our day campers that attend the summer school programs in the morning. In the past, these summer school, the kids who attend the summer schools are not being able to participate in the program because it's in the morning and they don't. The instruction is not over until noon. So this afternoon swim instruction will be serving approximately 75 campers. And while it will create some logistical challenges with the available space in the pool, we hope that the CP community will remain flexible and understand that teaching children how to swim remains a very high priority for us. I also, if I can get to it, I had one other announcement. that the New Jersey Recreation and Parks Association Board of Trustees has appointed Ben Stantz, who's our Recreation Department Director, as chair of the aquatics section for the entire state. This is a well-deserved honor, and I wish to extend our congratulations. And his appointment will begin on July 1st.
Excellent. Please extend our congratulations to him as well. I just have a couple announcements. The first, I mentioned before, Flag Day will be June 14th at noon out here on the plaza. If you have any old flags that have lived their useful life and want to dispose of them in a respectful way, you can drop them off. And also, Princeton has reopened the senior nutrition program here in town. This is after several years' absence where Princeton residents who wanted to use the program were taking a bus to Lawrence. We're very happy to have it back in Princeton at the Senior Resource Center. Want to thank David Cohen, Jeffrey Grosser, and Sue Hoskins, and also Mercer County for helping to make this possible. And it's open now from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Senior Resource Center Monday through Friday. Are there any staff announcements? No? Okay. Then we'll move on to approval of the minutes. And we have several sets of minutes in front of us tonight. The closed session on March 12th, the regular March 12th meeting, closed session for March 23rd, closed session March 26th, and also the open session for March 26th. I'd recommend that someone move them in block.
Mayor, I move approval in block.
Second.
And seconded by Mr. Liverman. Any comments or corrections on any of the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, minutes passed unanimously. And next we come to our award of recognition for this evening. And I'd like to pass it over to Mr. Cohen.
Thank you, Mayor. About a year ago, I was visiting my 85-year-old mother when she came out with the following remark in regard to reusing or recycling some household object. As I've always said, use it up, wear it out, make it do, or do without. Aside from the slight disconnect arising from the fact I had never, ever heard her say this before, I love the sentiment. Our honoree this evening, Princeton Record Exchange, fondly known by its customers as PREX, has been putting this maxim into practice from the very beginning of its existence in the early 1970s, when full disclosure, have to admit it was a nomadic operation at that time. It actually moved to Princeton in 1980 and to its current location in 1985. PREX would deserve this evening's honor purely on the basis of being one of the longest tenured businesses in town, having been at their current location for over 30 years, providing an important service, bringing the arts into our lives, affording employment to many of our youth, and contributing to the vibrancy of the central business district. How much more do they deserve the honor for embracing an ethic of conservation by building their entire business model around the principle of recycling the products they sell? Knowledgeable environmentalists make distinctions between different types of recycling, from the lowest type, downcycling, using waste products in less valuable form, often after expensive and energy-intensive extraction, to reclamation, reusing products for their originally intended use, but again, sometimes involving costly reprocessing, to the highest, reuse, preserving all the value of the original product. PREX practices the highest form, taking unwanted objects and finding new owners for them with almost zero waste or negative impact on the environment in the process. John Lambert, the current owner, who has been a longtime employee and subsequently manager of the store, and who several years ago purchased the business from his former boss, is a model for other retailers, retail business owners in the current challenging climate. As he explained to me when we met several months ago, his business model for competing with the internet is to provide not just a product, but an experience to his customers, one that they cannot find staring at a computer screen. This approach allows him to attract customers regionally and build a loyal customer base. For all these reasons, I'm proud to honor John and Prex on behalf of Princeton Council and the entire Princeton community, and to express our gratitude for their contribution to making Princeton the unique and wonderful town that it is.
One of the great things about Princeton is its embrace of high moral values. Every day I walk the doors and I read Alpine quote on the gates of the closet.
Oh, sorry to stop you, but I don't know if your mic is on. Can you just tap it?
Hello? Oh, yeah, that's good. Okay. Thank you, David. No, okay. We'll try. Thank you, David, and the rest of the council for honoring us with this award, and for all your kind words about our store. One of the great things about Princeton is its embrace of high moral values. Every day I walk to work and I read the Albert Hines quote on the gates to the plaza. It's always the right time to do the right thing. We try as best as we can to live by that motto. For us, that means treating our staff of 20 right. Our compensation is above average. We offer our 14 full-timers medical, dental, eye care, and life insurance. We give paid holidays and vacations, a 401k retirement plan with matching contributions, and, of course, large discounts to music. It means treating our customers right. We pay fairly for collections, we price our items under market value, and we strive to create a fun and comfortable space in which all are welcome, regardless of taste or wallet size. It means treating the environment right. We estimate that in our 38 years of business, we have bought and sold over 8 million titles. And I did the math. It's really pretty good. We do about 20,000 a month, multiply it out, 240,000 a year, 38 years, and yeah, we're 8 or 9 million items saved from landfill. We're very proud of that. There's a lot of items that don't end up there. We truly enjoy getting unwanted music and movies back in the hands of folks who appreciate them all over again. We're also avid recyclers. We pay for 2 very expensive pickups a week, huge amounts of cardboard, paper, and plastic. And finally, it means treating our town right. We love collaborating with our fellow like-minded organizations on projects and have done great work promoting the arts with the Public Library, McCarter Theater, the Arts Council of Princeton, Princeton Festival, Garden Theater, and many others. Public Library particularly, too. We are thankful that these ethical choices have translated into economic success and national acclaim, and we're proud to be a member of this town in which these values are so appreciated and supported. Long may we run.
Can I add something? I just point out that I've invested heavily in Princeton Record Exchange over the years and appreciate the service and the selection. And I'd also like to point out that your wife, Cynthia, is here, and she's also involved in recycling knowledge. She's a librarian. So cheers to her. And just wanted to point out that Prex is going to have a turntable behind the welcome desk at the library in July and August, where you'll be able to go in and sample vinyl. So if you want to... What's that?
Curated by our staff. We'll be picking up titles to listen to. So
Excellent. So thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you, Prex.
Thank you, too. Thank you all.
Thanks. And so now we come to public comment for items that are not already on the agenda, and we'll start with the sign-up sheet that was on the podium. So I'd like to invite up Jack Morrison.
Rock and roll, right? I have a feeling I have a big mouth.
And jazz and classical.
I'll stand back. Mayor and members of the council, let me stand. I am here tonight on behalf of the Princeton Merchants Association and its 130-plus members made up of businesses, nonprofits, and institutions to let you know that we do not support the proposed bike lane on Wiggins and Hamilton. The 29 parking spaces that would be removed under this plan border the central business district and our tree streets and provide parking for residents, students, customers, trades, and workers at a rate of approximately 60 visits per day or over 400 parking experiences per week. These spaces are actively used each and every day because of their location, and the removal would add an undue burden to surrounding neighborhoods. I can speak firsthand, having raised my family and biked to work for the better part of 34 years, and understand a bike ride and a chance to get out in the fresh air. On the same token, I also know that we all need to share our limited resources with every part of our community, and the reality is that a whole lot more people drive to school, work, or visit Princeton in their cars, rather than on their bikes. The PMA supports bikers every day with bike share hubs on campus, McCaffrey's, and Heinz Plaza, bike racks throughout the town, and the annual Random Acts of Kindness campaign of the Whole Earth Center. Unfortunately, a bike lane at this location is a luxury that we cannot afford in an area that serves so many members of our community. This is a beta test and should not be a means to arrive at a foregone conclusion. Many of the people who use these parking spaces are unaware of any data gathering, so it is important that Council takes its time and hears from as many as possible before reaching a consensus. There should be no rush to install a bike lane in this sensitive area without considering alternative bike pathways or additional parking in the immediate area. We urge Council to fully explore this idea with the community before any consideration is given to removing these spaces. Thank you.
Thank you. We will make sure, if you haven't already put your comments in the online. You did already, okay. Okay, so we'll make sure that this goes in the comments that we're collecting, and actually at our next meeting on June 25th, we're going to be having a presentation of the data that was collected. So we have counters. We've been collecting data both before the experiment, during it, and then in the days afterwards. So we do have some hard data, and then we've also been collecting comments, and we'll hear public comment that night too. But yeah, we appreciate it. You have to speak at the mic, or it's like you never spoke.
Running the farmers market, the lot fills up at 11 o'clock and people use that. Obviously at reunions, I mean, I drive that way to work, so because I moved out of town. But these spaces get used, and I'm really concerned to start burdening the other tree, the Tree Street neighborhoods, et cetera, around the school without I would just hope that we really take the time to figure out, is this the best use?
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. I feel like this is part of a larger conversation that is slated for the next meeting, so I don't want to get in a back and forth tonight, but thank you.
Thank you so much.
Is there anybody else who'd like to speak on anything that's not on the agenda?
Sorry, I forgot to sign up. Good evening. Reunions and Kristen Applegate, Princeton University. Reunions and commencement are behind us, and summer projects on the university campus are getting underway, so a lot of renovation and construction work. I wanted to highlight for the council and for the community an upcoming project that I think will have at least a visible impact on the town. So the university will be doing restoration work on the cupola of Nassau Hall and replacing the roof on Nassau Hall. So of course, Nassau Hall is a landmark for the campus and the community, very visible from the center of town. So I wanted to mention this because there will be scaffolding surrounding the building starting later in June. We're getting permits from all the necessary local agencies. So sometime later in June, scaffolding will be going up around the building, and it will be there until next March, so March of 2019. So this is a lengthy extensive project. A lot of care obviously being taken with a building that was first used in 1756 and of course was cannonballed by the British, survived that, and at one time served as a temporary capital of the United States. So a building that we can all be proud to have in our community. Just wanted to take a minute and mention it to you all because it will be very, very visible, and just wanted everyone to know what we were doing. There's a lovely article about the building and about the project on the homepage for the university, and we'll be following it with a blog and with updates on the campus facilities website.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak on anything that's not already on the agenda? Mr. Zinder?
Hi, Joshua Zinder. I'm just curious if, and if this has come up before and I missed it, I'm sorry, if the town has any position on the school's buying of Thanet Circle, just from a point of view of taking it off the tax roll and just the whole approval process just seems a little bit odd. I was curious if the town had any position.
So early on, when the school district was looking for possible school sites, they met with planning department, with Lee Solo. I'm not sure if other town staff were there, but just looked at a map and looked at properties that were for sale or that had recently been for sale that could accommodate a school. So I know that was on their list, but in terms of, they're their own entity. So it would be the same as if someone else approached us who, interested in starting a business, wanted some advice on where there are properties that meet a certain criteria.
Right.
So that's our relationship. And they will have to, I might refer to you, Mark or Trishka, if you know the process for whatever the school district needs to do, what they'll need to go through in terms of planning board approvals. Is that what you're asking for?
No, I mean, I would expect that it wouldn't have to go through planning board approvals because they're individual entities. It's really a question of
no, I think they do, right? Or I don't know. I want to refer to Mr.
It's a referendum. It's a vote, isn't it?
One component they will have to do, and that's their facilities plans will go before the planning board, and I believe that's in the next month or so. It may be going before the planning board.
I think that there are revisions to the master plan that are being proposed that list the Thanet site as well as a number of other sites that they would like the school board would like to have added to the list of designated properties for educational use in the master plan. So I believe that's coming up shortly. I kind of don't think that I'm not sure what you mean by a facility plan, but I don't think they've got.
Using the wrong word, but I believe either the long range, I believe.
Yes, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Welcome. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak on any items that are not already on the agenda? Okay, then we can move on to reports. And our first report tonight is from Dixon Resources Unlimited on what's going on with Princeton's update to our parking system.
Good evening. I'm Allison from Dixon Resources, and Julie sends her apologies for not being able to attend this evening's meeting, but she did get to meet with a lot of you during the day at the Public Works meeting today. So I'm just here to provide a brief update on where we are with the parking study and the next couple months of getting contracts and policies into place. So on the agenda tonight is the Passport Parking Contract, which provides mobile pay and digital permitting services. Both of these are intended to bring ease of use with the mobile pay system and with digital permitting, getting all of the paper off the desk and all of the manual processes. The option for private label is included in the contract. The vendor has waived the initial $40,000 in fees to set up the private label, which designs don't need to be decided on tonight. It's just a part of the contract itself. The not to exceed amount, which is on that contract, I believe we wrote it at $30,000, is based off of the gateway fees, which is what holds the credit card information, and is just an estimation. We actually overestimated, hoping that Passport will become a popular usage for mobile pay in Princeton. And the fees are estimates. They're only used for when the mobile app is used. Going forward, we're anticipating coming back on the 25th for the presentation of the big IPS smart meter technology equipment contract. We had some delays with the vendor, unfortunately, needing to get a couple things for the state of New Jersey in place before we are able to provide all of the documentation for approval. At that same time, we're going to be working with staff to get on the agenda the municipal code updates and the financial modeling workbook. Again, we'll work with staff on that part of it. And then our big day today, so we have been camped out at the library for almost the entire day, meeting with merchants, local business owners. We had some residents come in too. We had pretty good feedback and turnout, especially in the afternoon hours, which a lot of the feedback we received was based off of business practices and business policies. Which, we're going to hopefully have another session with them in July, another charrette session with them in July, where we're going to actually map out everything, all of the restrictions and the time limits and the metered zones and et cetera. But we're really here to get that technology piece in place between this meeting and the next meeting with the IPS, especially with the IPS contract. And then a lot of the business rules that people were asking about today, such as the virtual wallets and the stopping and starting of parking sessions and grace periods, will all be something that we will be digging into further and providing future guidance on. And that's kind of where we stand now.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions from council? Can you just go over the timeline again about the labeling for the app and when we need to make those decisions?
Yeah, so Passport parking, so as soon as this contract's signed, I'm not going to even joke. I have to call Passport to tell them the good news if it goes through. They're anxiously awaiting. We can move as quickly as possible. We obviously, getting a design in place, I will let you guys know that if the design comes from Princeton itself, using either the Go Princeton model or any of Princeton designs, or someone who does it internally, the brand will belong to Princeton. If Passport comes in for the design purposes, the brand will belong to Passport. So I will start setting up conference calls to get moving. The digital permits will be a little bit easier. Obviously, the implementation of the mobile pay is going to be dependent on the implementation of the smart meters. But the private label, it doesn't need to be, a design does not need to be decided on today. We can use next council meeting or the ones in July to kind of round out what the design should look like.
Right, but I think that we need a process that we should probably determine tonight just so that we're ready. And unless something's already been put in place, I might recommend, I know there's been a committee working with Mr. DeShield on like other design elements, and I might recommend that same committee and maybe pull in Deanna Stockton or somebody else from engineering on that too, to meet, just so that there's a group who's working on it who can be a sounding board.
We can definitely do that.
Okay, thank you. If that's okay with everybody. Okay. Are there any other questions about the parking at this point? No, all right, this is really exciting to have this start to finally be rolled out, so thank you.
So you're actually able to see it now, yeah.
Right, yeah. Thank you.
Mayor, I'll just make one comment because it's Allison, right? Yeah, didn't mention this, but this came up in the discussion at Public Works meeting today, that one of the features of the passport system is that it will allow us to start doing the sharing of parking with private parking owners. And so I had mentioned that I met with a Interfaith Clergy Council last week, and there were several churches that were interested in the ability to monetize sharing their parking lots, and I think there may be other private property owners in town. So we should be starting to publicize somehow that capacity and determining interest and participating in that as well.
That would be great, and maybe even have some sort of, I don't know if it's a presentation here at council, or maybe there's presentations that we could do at the library for interested groups. I think there probably are going to be a lot of questions about how other communities deal with issues like enforcement and other things, since it's really a private arrangement. But I think it's a great opportunity to leverage some of the pavement we already have that is going unused currently. So that would be terrific. Thank you. Good comment. Okay, I'm not going to forget council reports tonight. So start again on my right with Mr. Cohen. Any reports?
I do not have a report.
Ms. Howard?
I have two. One, just that the Animal Control Advisory Committee is meeting later this week. And I tell you only because I unfortunately will not be at the next meeting to report on it, but wanted to let you know that we're going to be meeting to review the data from this year's deer hunt and to start planning for next year's, and also to be talking about the changes to state law in terms of investigation and prosecution of animal cruelty law. Some of you may have seen that the statewide ASPCA was disbanded and animal cruelty investigations were returned to the counties and municipalities, and that's changing how we're doing some things. So just to know that we're reflecting on the deer hunt, looking ahead to next year's, and working on making sure we're up to speed on these new animal cruelty requirements. And I'll be able to update you at the following meeting. The other update, I'm going to be going on Wednesday, and I think, Mayor, you were invited as well, but you may not be able to attend. Governor Murphy is going to be signing a package of gun safety bills. Oh. He is going to be signing into law 6 new bills that do things like ban large capacity magazines and expand background checks on private gun sales and establish gun violence restraining orders and ban armor-piercing bullets. And I'm a member of the Multi-State Gun Violence Research Consortium, and so I'm going to be attending, but also will represent Princeton, and I know our interest. We've passed many resolutions urging enactment of these very bills, so it's very exciting to see them become law.
Excellent, thank you. Mr. Luhrmann, Mr. Quinn, Ms. Fraga?
I do, really quick. There was a community event that was scheduled to happen yesterday, but we got rained out, which is the Loteria. It's a community building event that was co-sponsored by the Rec Department, Human Services, and other community partners. It is now going to take place next Saturday from 2 to 5 behind Community Park School.
Great, thank you. I had a couple reports. The first is we're continuing to work on the Bloomberg Challenge. So Princeton is one of 35 champion cities across the country recognized by Bloomberg Philanthropies, and it's an innovation contest. And we have $100,000 that we're working on developing the idea that we've proposed to them, which is to find a localized, sustainable way to deal with food waste. And we're working on resubmitting our application. All the 35 finalists are working on resubmitting their applications in August, and we're up for a $5 million prize if we win, and things are continuing to move along. We're really excited that Bloomberg is sending out a scouting team next week. Apparently, they might not be doing this for all the towns, we're not sure. But they're coming to observe us on Monday, so we're working hard on trying to put together an exciting day for us to be working with. We're very thankful for our partnership with Princeton University on this. Over the summer, we're working with a Tiger Challenge team, and that's a group of undergraduates, and they're focused on the behavioral side of this. So how can we learn, how do you set up people's kitchens? How do you do the education? How do you do the communication? So people do a better job with putting the compost in the compost bin and putting the trash in the trash bin, because one of the issues with having a successful program is making sure that you control the contamination. And not next week, but the week after, we're going to be meeting with officials from DEP they're putting together this pre-permit meeting for us. So we want to have all of our ducks in a row. So if we were to get the money, we'd be ready to go. And we're able to show that in our application. So our most promising location at the moment will be at River Road, next to the sewage treatment plant. And Matt Wasserman, who's leading the team, has found this really great technology out of New Zealand. So we'll be looking at that, and we're still looking at one element of it, which we need to make sure that there's a market for the compost. So if anybody knows of a farm that would be interested in some premium Princeton compost, please let me know. But it's continuing to move along, so we're really excited by that. I know that the Youth Advisory Committee is going to be reporting in a bit on their work with teen and mental health, but I also just wanted to mention that Brett Bonfield has convened a group of mental health providers in the community and other people who work with youth, and they're also hopefully going to be working with the Tiger Challenge team starting in the fall on a project aimed more at the providers to sort of figure out how to make sure that we're working together as a community to make sure that we're sharing resources and people know what's going on, so we're better able to help our teens in need. And I think that was it for my reports. Are there any staff reports? Ms. Stockton?
Just a couple of updates on capital projects. The Mary Moss Playground project is moving ahead nicely, but because we've had some delays in receiving some of the big equipment like the playground structures, most likely we are looking for a grand opening around the 14th of July. They've estimated that the equipment will be coming in the first week of July, and then they still need to do surfacing, the poured-in-place surfacing. So that's, at this point, what we're estimating as our time frame. Ben Stentz will provide more information as we're getting closer as to what they have planned for the grand opening. And then on other capital projects under engineering, Walnut Lane improvements will start once school gets out, so you can expect to start seeing some activity probably the last week of June. First activity will be some tree removals, and then they'll launch right into the work out there with anticipated completion date by Labor Day. We're also working with the state on Spruce and Linden as well as Cherry Valley to get those two projects moving to go out to bid so that construction can start before the end of summer. And that's it.
Great, thank you. Are there any other staff reports? No? Okay. Then we will move on to our presentation this evening from the Youth Advisory Committee. And do you guys want to start by, are Eli, Amy, and Al, you guys doing the presentation, or is everyone doing it? Maybe just introduce everybody that's here, and yeah, sweet.
It's kind of awkward.
Hi, my name is Sanukta. I'm from Princeton High School.
I'm Shoshi Henderson. I'm also from Princeton High School.
I'm Julia Zhang. Oh, geez. And I'm also from PHS.
And these are, I should say, these are our incoming members.
Yeah, Michelle Gerard is also from Princeton.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. My name is Amy, and I'm the chair of the Youth Advisory Committee. And tonight, Eli, Elle, and I are here to present the second annual council report. So, our mission statement was revised this year to reflect a focus on mental health and youth emotional well-being. This change stems from a survey that was administered last year, the results of which underscore the importance of mental wellness and the pervasive amounts of stress that students in the community are feeling. This is also just a group photo of the YAC with a few of our newest members. We also have a wonderful advisor, Ms. Leticia Fraga. So some of the goals that branch from our mission statement this year, we've set 3 tangible goals that have framed the projects and initiatives that we've pursued this year. The first has been trying to understand the unique causes of teen stress in the Princeton community. The second has been to reduce the stigma around and to build dialogue on mental health. The third is providing resources for and hosting events to help educate the public. Next year, we also hope to take on a greater advisory role on projects that directly concern the township and have begun having conversations on things such as the beta bike lanes. Next, Elle will be explaining the initiatives that we've pursued this year.
Hi, so I'm Elle Ferguson again, and the next few slides are going to talk about some of the projects that we've done. So this was last year in June. We had our first mental health forum in the community room at the Princeton Public Library. We had a psychologist from Princeton Psychology Department come in and speak to us, Dr. Jasmine Young, and she talked about the problems with stress that youth are facing and how to overcome them and some helpful coping mechanisms. So we had a good turnout at this event last year. And then this year, in this very room, we had a mental health awareness organization come in called Minding Your Mind, and they spoke to the community about stress, anxiety, and depression, how to recognize it and how to cope with it. We had a brilliant young speaker who had dealt with depression and anxiety in his college years, and there was also a question and answer session from the audience. So this was part of our goal of raising awareness for the town in terms of mental health.
So one of our current projects, which will be taking place in 2 days, is the Phs Alumni Panel. And here, the Youth Advisory Committee, the Phs Student Council, and the Phs Alumni Board created an event where 5 Phs alumni are speaking to students from all grades about their, quote, non-traditional paths out of Phs and how Phs assisted their lives and their paths. So some of them took a number of gap years, some went into college as a music major and then switched to become a lawyer. Some were disappointed about their safety schools, but then realized it was the best time of their entire lives. And we're trying to, quote, redefine success in the Princeton community because many students are in the mindset that the only option post-high school is attending an Ivy League university, which is not the right path for much of our student body. And we also believe that this is the beginning of an annual event because after advertising it to the students of PHS on Facebook, other PHS alumni contacted us with interests of participating in future years if we continue this event. And because this is only our second year in existence, we've been able to work with organizations such as Corner House, the Mayor's Task Force, and the Teen Advisory Board. And these have been really helpful to us because, like I said, there's really 12 kids and an advisor, and we're just kind of finding the ropes with all of our stuff because this is only our second year. It started beginning of last year. And then we hope in the future we hope we can continue to work with destigmatizing mental health and focus on student well-being in Princeton schools. And our goal for the future of the Youth Advisory Committee is just to create a strong bond between the students and the Princeton community because it's really important to hear the students' voice everywhere we go. Thank you. Questions?
Are there any questions?
Well, I wanted to say it's always great to hear from you guys, but I want to see if there's any questions from council. Mr. Lieberman?
Yeah, I just want to thank them again for being so positive and understanding how serious this topic is. I'm on the Mental Health Mayor Advisory Board, and you guys bring so much energy, so much thinking outside the box, and technology. They're just great. I mean, they're just unbelievable. And with designing and graphics, they have been such I would say, a blessing for us to have in town. So I just want to thank you guys and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Mr. Lieberman.
I had a question. I was able to attend the workshop last week. Was it last week? I'm losing track of the days here. But I wasn't able to stay for the speaker. So would one of you summarize what the featured speaker, the young man, talked about? I heard what preceded that.
Sure. So he kind of gave, it was a very like narrative styled format. So he started off with like how he kind of like got into depressive moods following like an injury he had with sports. So he was at a point in his life where he had it all. So he was attending college, doing really well as a finance major. He had a very large job lined up afterwards, was playing football and was having a great time. And then just like after an injury, and he couldn't really explain like why he fell into these depressive moods, but he talked about just like kind of his descent after that into and along that way, he kind of pointed out like symptoms and signs that you should look for in friends. So we were able to learn kind of like things that we should look out for when evaluating like our own peers. And then after that, he also kind of just discussed like therapy, how to find something that works for you, finding like a coping mechanism that you can do. For him, it was eating frosted mini wheats. So yeah, that was something he discussed.
Yeah, he really stressed the importance of communication and how he would never talk to his parents about it or his friends. And he talked about how he just found out after he admitted to this and his mom finds out that depression has ran in his family. And then once he talked to his whole team about this, one of his teammates actually went and saw someone in distress and talked to them and got them out of a possibly fatal situation, which was, so he was like, one of the main takeaways from it was just communication is so important and vital.
Another thing that the audience took away from it that the speaker really stressed was that even though he's from a privileged background and had a lot of good things going on in his life, a supportive family, he lives in like a good middle class neighborhood, and like despite all these things that were going for him, he still had a pretty severe depressive episode.
The final thing was there was follow-up from a program coordinator, so along the way, and I think you might have maybe been here for this part, but I'm not sure, but it was more of like here's like a list of symptoms and like here's a list of things that you can do. So that was more of like a less narrative approach, but it was really helpful too for the audience in understanding the issue.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
And I just wanted to echo what Councilman Lieberman said about your great energy. Really, not to take away from the other committees that I work with, but yours is really one of my favorites, and I want to commend you for your dedication and all that you do on the committee.
We would like to thank Ms. Fraga for the pizza that she gave us last time. That was
okay, and that was not a bribe.
But yeah, none of our progress could have been done without Mr. Lieberman and Ms. Fraga helping us over these past 2 years. So thank you so much for everything.
Thank you.
And I have a compliment and a question. The compliment is that I'm really impressed by your presentation skills, and I don't know, Leticia, maybe you helped them, but a lot of people who come to council could learn from your handoffs, and it was very, very impressive. Question for you is there anything else that we can be doing to help you in your work?
That's it. I think one of our main struggles is advertising. Because a lot of the times when we want to get the word out to students or even the community, because events such as the Alumni Panel is only open to the students of Princeton High School, but events such as the Minding Your Mind was open to parents, school administrators, and students, and anyone in the community. And we have Facebook that we can use, we have flyers, And there's been so much help with putting it on the town website, but I think just a big thing, and I don't know if it's something like specifically, but just in the future, one of our main goals is to seeing how we can advertise to a greater population in Princeton, because right now, like I said before, it's only our second year, so we're just kind of seeing like what we can do and what we know how to do, but we want to see in the future our events hopefully gaining more people, so like more people can take away like what we're learning, because everything's so important to us right now.
Another concern that we have is getting applicants. So for the past 2 years, the first year we had a big pool of applicants, probably like 100 kids applied, and then the past 2 years it's been significantly lower than that. So just in future years, getting the word out about applying would be a big asset.
And the final thing that Ms. Fraga is helping us with next year is that we just want to take a larger advisory role, so things that are more pertinent to like the things that you guys discuss on the agenda. So with regards to like the beta bike lanes, the new like integrated technology for parking meters, like things like that, we would greatly appreciate like having her as like a liaison to us to understand what's happening here for us to also give feedback on.
Terrific. All right. Thank you. And I just want to thank you guys too. I think that there's one of the challenges initially when you were set up is that so much of your life is spent in school, but we're not the school district. So sort of finding that space where the town can help address issues that are facing young people. And I think that with the mental health issue is such a big issue, and I really feel it is a community issue. It's not just something that happens between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. And really helping. I mean, I've learned a lot from the sessions I've been at in terms of how the community can help. One of the takeaways I had from the last session was that one of the things that's important for students is to find 1 to 3 adults that you can talk to, and that might be a parent for some people, but for some people it might not be. And it could be a neighbor, or it could just be a caring person in the community. And I think, if we need to start thinking about that as a community as ways for us to all help with this, and I really think it is a public health epidemic that's happening in this community. So anyway, I just want to thank you for helping raise awareness for all of us, and on a really important issue.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Oh, one last thing. As a part of the LGBT community, I really support the crosswalks. So.
I have to second that. Thank you so much.
Well, you'll be pleased to know that we have a lot of experience now from the Beta Bike Lane project.
We would love to advise on that, by the way.
With temporary road.
Ms. Howard just recommended changing the agenda to
Mayor, may I amend the agenda so that we can move up Resolution 18-211, the resolution authorizing appointments to the Youth Advisory Committee, while everyone is still here?
Second.
All right, so the amending the agenda to move up the resolution has been moved by Ms. Howard, seconded by Mr. Liverman.
And then I move adoption of Resolution 18.
And we have to vote on amending the agenda first. All in favor of amending the agenda?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, now you want to make a motion?
I move adoption of Resolution 18-211, authorizing appointments to the Youth Advisory Committee.
Second.
And seconded by Ms. Fraga. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, congratulations, and congratulations especially to the new members. And great presentation. Thank you. Okay, so now we'll move back to Resolution 18-204, which is resolution awarding a contract to Passport Parking under the National Cooperative Purchasing Association for an amount not to exceed $36,000.
I move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Cohen, seconded by Mr. Quinn. Any questions about the Passport app, which we've already heard about? No? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, resolution passes. You can
text them.
Spread the good news. All right. Next is 18-205, resolution authorizing a shared services agreement with the Princeton School District and the Princeton Public Library for network managed services from July 1st, 2018 to June 30th, 2019 in the amount of $30,013. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Liverman. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Cohen. And this is a really great shared services agreement between all three entities and saves the taxpayers money 3 ways around. So good thing. Any discussion, further discussion or questions?
Question for council. Do I need to recuse on this? To speed the process, I will, and by the time I get down to the bottom step, will be
Okay.
voted upon, just to make it clean.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, resolution passes unanimously. Next, we come to the consent agenda, which contains items of a routine nature, although I would like to pull number
11.
11. And can I get a motion
So
to
moved.
approve the rest of the consent agenda minus 11? Moved by Mr. Liverman. Is there
Second.
seconded by Mr. Quinn? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the consent agenda passes. And then, Mr. Cohen, did you want to recuse for
Yes.
number 11? Okay, so now we come to 11, which is a performance guarantee completion time extension to December 31st, 2018 for Shabbat Lubavitch of Mercer County, 645 State Road, Block 2701, Lot 3, major site plan and conditional use with variances. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Quinn and seconded by
Second.
Ms. Howard. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. And
We
do
have
we need?
one closed session.
Okay, so
One
is there a
closed session
motion to move back into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah.